Hi, and welcome to our webinar today, which is on how to get your simPRO data into Power BI and what to do when it's in there. Tugger is an enabler for better business intelligence solutions. We hook up to systems like simPRO, extract your data, store it in the Tugger data warehouse, and enable you to pull this data into Microsoft Power BI. From here, you can create detailed reports and carry out amazing data analysis. We do all this without having to write a single line of code and without having to manage your own data warehouse. And to make life even easier for you, we even provide you with a growing set of reports to get you started. I'm now going to hand you over to Nicholas, who's going to show you how easy it is to actually connect simPRO to Tugger and then to Power BI.
Thank you, Craig. Right, I'm presuming everyone can see my screen okay?
Yep, that's fine, Nicholas.
Right, once you've signed up for a Tugger account and you click on Access Tugger, as shown here in this image, or you navigate to My Tuggers or Tuggers here, as this is your first time and you haven't added an integration yet, you'll be presented with something like this here. simPRO there, add this Tugger, we click on that. And then we fill in the details here. Now, an integration, whatever makes sense to you. With regards to the syncing of historical data, the further back you go, the more data will have to be pulled to our data warehouse. And that will mean there's more rows in our data warehouse, but also it takes longer to tug that data, particularly in the first time. After that, it's not too bad, of course. But that's down to you. With regards to simPRO build details, this you'll need to refer to your URL for simPRO. Now, as an example, during our implementation, this is the link we had. Now, for the simPRO build name, it would be enterprise-sandbox-UK. And for the simPRO build domain, simprosuite.com. Yours, of course, may be simprocloud.com. As you can see, I've entered those there. With regards to simPRO catalog data, we don't actually use that in our reports. So if you basically just want to use the templates we provide and the reporting that those encompass, then we would recommend unchecking the include catalog data. Now, we can do that because it have two benefits. One, a lot less time to sync the first time. And also, there's a lot fewer rows, potentially hundreds of thousands fewer rows stored in our data warehouse. I'm going to uncheck that. With regards to the how often data should be pulled, I'm going to leave it at the default of an hour. It can, however, be changed to what you wish. Once that's done, click on Authorize Access to simPRO. And after a few moments, if you're not already logged into simPRO, it will ask you to log in. As I'm actually logged in, it should just bring up a dialog box asking me to authorize. You need to click yes to continue. You should then be returned back to the summary page in your Tugger account. Now you'll notice it says awaiting first tug, which is normal, but it should start within a few moments, maybe a minute or so. Now, with regards to how soon you can use the data that's been pulled across, you'll get an update within the summary page. And once it's either completed or you've had at least one update, it will show you where data was tugged up until. Then you can use that data within the Power BI reports. Now, I'm going to use one that was created earlier because As you can see, this hasn't even started yet, but should do any moment now. So once the data is pulled across, and we will have an analytics setup page. It will list all the reports with the OData URL you need to access and the authentication details. Now we can open up Power BI and we can go to File, Import, and access the template. But we can also just download the template. Once the template's downloaded, double click on it and it will open it up for us. And you get a pop-up and within that pop-up you'll put the OData URL. And you'll click load. If this is the first time you've loaded this particular integration into Power BI Desktop, you'll need to enter the authentication details. You'll need to select basic, and you need to make sure that the level there matches the level above. And then you'll just copy across the username and password from the integration details. And click connect. After a few seconds, the refresh pop-up will reappear and the OData feed dialog should disappear. We do have some progress. And once it's loaded the data, we get the report there. You'll notice all the different tabs at the bottom, which I'm not going to go through. They'll appear differently in Power BI Service. Now we can just save the document, or we can click on Publish straight away. Before we actually publish, though, I'm going to go through briefly creating a workspace and adding a user. You need to save it before you publish it. Save it for something that makes sense. Once you've saved it, you'll get a pop-up asking for you to select a workspace. If you haven't already set one up, if you haven't already set up a workspace, you can do it through here by clicking on Create Workspace, give it a name, and then save it. And then that workspace will become available, as in this one is here. To give people access, you just add them here. Obviously, whoever creates it is added automatically. I can, for instance, add Gabor, give them a level, and add them. So you can have people with just view or full access. Anyway, there we go. We select that and it will publish it. Once it's published, you get this update with a link that we can follow. or we can navigate back and refresh the page and it should appear. That's the report that you can view. This is the data behind the report. You can see it was refreshed as it's just been published now. The next refresh would need setting up. It's currently not available. You can manually refresh using this here. The schedule refresh, just there. Before you set up the refreshes themselves, you need to edit the data source credentials if you've never set them up before, but they should be fine as I have actually used those details previously. Schedule refresh, switch it on, and then you can add up to 8 times on the Pro account. However many you want to add, just add them, then you click apply when that's done. And your next refresh should be available, and we can go in and have a look at the report as well. And you'll notice that instead of that, where we had in the Power BI desktop the tabs at the bottom, we have all the pages here available for your viewing. And that covers setting up a simPRO integration and publishing to Microsoft's Power BI service. Thank you for your time. I'll hand back over to Craig.
Thanks, Nicholas. Now, I think you guys can now see my screen.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the actual Power BI reports themselves. So once you've got the reports in the service, there's a lot of stuff you can do with these reports. You can see here I've got all the different reports uploaded, and if you look at this list, I can see the data sets and the reports that go with them. Just to make it easier, if you click on content, that'll just show you the reports. So I'm not going to go through all the reports in great detail because there's a lot here, and obviously don't want to keep you guys on for too long, but I'm going to go through some of the features we've got within these. Now, I've just opened up our customers report. This looks at customer contracts and looks at customer rankings. Now, in terms of how you can sort of navigate around this report, we've got this sort of filter in the top right hand corner here, and if you click that, that brings up a series of other filters. So that means you can filter the reports by company, customer, site, currency, or customer group. And these filters, they're available in every single one of the reports. We can just hide that by clicking away there. Now, in terms of how these reports are filtered, they're filtered in different ways. At the minute, you can see that I'm looking at the value of contracts in GBP by start date. It's very simple. If I'm more interested in when those contracts expire, then I can swap that down there, and then the whole page will update at that point in time. If you look in here on customer contract, customer rankings, you can see all the sort of the breakdown of, profit and loss. So I can look at, right, who are the most profitable customers. I can see, who I'm getting the most revenue out of. Particularly useful if you want to see actually, am I actually, just because my biggest paying customer is bringing so much money in, is it really the biggest paying customer, or is it actually, I'm actually losing money on that customer? So there's all sorts of stuff you can do like that. And if I want to, and this happens in any of the reports, if I want to filter by a particular customer, so if I click on the top one here, I can see now all the other graphs have also filtered around this as well. So now I can quite clearly see easily where the sort of profit sits for these companies and gross margins and things like that. Now, if I go back to the workspace here, and if we take a look at the leads report, now the leads report is obviously looking at, what have we, obviously in terms of what have we got for sale, what are our potential sales now. We can see here that I've actually filtered this graph here by a probability level. So if you're only interested in looking at, say, a revenue forecast where you know, you think there's only a 70% chance, or well, in this case 68% chance of conversion, then you can set that there. I can bring that down, and you'll see that obviously more and more stuff will appear on the screen. You can see here, like on this example, on this pie chart here, if I want to have a look at, okay, well, let's have a look at all the ones that sit in the 100% probability. If I don't want to just do that, I just want to filter the screen, I can again just click the graph there, and everything around it will filter as well. One other thing that I want to show you as well is if I unfilter that, and is that on all these screens there tends to be what we call drill downs. So if I right click on this graph here and I want to look at that, I can drill down and see the lead details that sort of sit behind that. So if I want to see more information about, right, okay, and I know what the probability is, but which leads are actually sitting in that probability, again, I can change the filters on here between lost, open, and won. So you've even got more filters once you drill down into that data as well. We've got reports here that show things around, you know, what the conversion rates between lead and quote, you know, and again, we can see we've got more information here. So in terms of, I want to have a look at, you know, how salespeople are doing, you know, what's the quote conversion rate for these people? If I look at this individual here, I can see his conversion rate is 17.86%, but then obviously if I've clicked on him, again, all the graphs on the screen, they're all changing again as well. Again, it's, you know, you then go, okay, well, okay, leads converted to a quote. Well, how many of those actually turn to jobs? Again, it's very similar to the quote one. And here you can obviously see those percentages around that as well. One thing I would like to show you around these sort of line graphs, if you like, is that actually you can actually, I'm going to say, I'll actually do it on most of the graphs. If you want to focus on, say, this graph over here, because obviously a lot going on here, you want to see that in more detail, you can click on the focus mode icon in there, and that'll bring that graph up full screen so you can see those details more. If I just want to look at what's behind that as well, if I want to go and say, right, I want to see, if I want to see the, I want to show the right icon there. If I right click on there and I want to see the data within the table, I can do that as well. So I can see, right, this graph, there's all these values. I can see in November, right, the estimated lead totals that, quoted totals that, and the actual is that. The idea being that if obviously you are struggling to read the graph, you can obviously get the information from behind that as well. Got things like lead revenue forecasts in here. You know, what's the actual forecast look like? And as I mentioned before, you can filter that by probability as well. I can have a look at what's the difference between, you know, look at the loss versus won lead, so I can see not only percentages of won leads, but actually, you know, how many they are, and we can see them against them as well. And again, I can see those by customer. So if I wanted to see this particular customer here, I can see that literally everything with that customer has been lost. Another useful thing around this is response times. So when we're talking about response times with leads, we're like, you know, how quickly are people dealing with quotes? It might be you give people, you know, you might give people 5 days to deal with quotes. You can set that to 5 there and say, right, okay, how much of these are actually within that response time that you've set there? So, you know, I can see there's one that's missed response time here, and then 4 are within the right time. So if you want to keep on track of leads, you've got that as well. I'm just going to click back into the workspace. We've got things like orders. So this is talking about vendor orders. I'm not going to go into this report in too much detail. I just want to open it up and just let you see what's in here. So in here we've got things like, you know, purchase orders that you've raised, you know, receipts that you've received from vendors, unpaid receipts, vendor quotes, credits, that kind of thing. Again, if we jump back out of here, we've also got in terms of jobs, which has got quite a lot of information in the jobs reports. The first tab that's going to open is going to be jobs in progress tab. So this is showing me where all the active jobs are, you know, which one, what type of jobs they are. There's even a list of jobs there. You know, I can see these by project manager. You're able to easily click these buttons and switch them to show me the jobs by salesperson. You know, okay, what are the technicians on those jobs that are happening. If you use customers and zones, again, you've got that information there. Like I said before about the graphs, if you want to just see the service jobs that's on this screen, you just click on the service icon, and then everything else again around it will change. You'll see we've also got lots of other filters going on, as you see from various reports. So here we've got job tags as well. So if you want to tag your jobs in certain ways and then report on them in certain ways, you can do that as well. We've got things around job completion. So this is looking at not the jobs that are still in progress, but the jobs that have actually been finished. And now again, they're broken down by the different types of job type. And here I can see as well the sort of like which jobs have been completed on time and which jobs have not. So you can keep a track on, right, are we getting better at completing them on time? Are we not completing on time? And again, you've got things around budgets here as well. So, you know, have we actually, were the jobs on budget? Were they over budget? You can look at your value of work in progress. So, you know, right, okay, what's the value of all the jobs we've got on at the minute? They might not be invoiced, but you still want to know that value. And again, you can look at the stages of those jobs. So where they are, whether they're pending, in progress, that kind of thing. We've got lots of stuff around sort of job margins, you know, things around profit and loss. Again, these ones you can switch. You can again see, like, you know, what's the job margins for ones with particular project managers. So if I look at this project manager, I can see, right, okay, this is what the net margins are for the customers that this project manager is dealing with. Very easy to switch between gross and net figures. So if you're wanting to see it pre-tax or excluding tax, that's easy enough to do. You've got profit and loss, so you can see, you know, how profitable your projects are, you know, who your profitable customers are certain jobs at certain salespeople not that profitable. So you can see here, like, obviously these ones are more profitable and obviously they're dropping down. So if you think salespeople are perhaps selling, you know, work on a lower price than they should be just to get the work in, you can start to spot those sort of trends in there. Again, you can look at, you know, is the problems with certain project managers? Are we being profitable on those project managers? This particular tab is all about the actual revenue figures themselves. But if we go into job profit and loss percentages, as the name suggests, it's pretty much the same situation, but now it's showing them as percentages. So I can see like 63.2%, 21.2%, and that kind of thing. If you deal with contractors and you've got contractor jobs set up, then you've got the contractor jobs report as well. That'll show you things like, you know, the number of jobs by contractor and all that kind of stuff as well. Now, I think I forgot we'll drill through. There was another graph thing I wanted to show you in a minute. So again, recurring jobs due. If you're dealing with recurring jobs, you can see what they are when they're coming up, what the values of those jobs are. And you've got a forecast report that goes with those recurring jobs due as well. So actually I can see, look, this is those recurring jobs over time. I can see, you know, I've got 13 this month, 11 that month, 15 that month. And also I can see the values of those jobs as well. So you've got all that to go off as well. And then you've got the recurring jobs due, which just shows you the cost analysis. So again, it's looking by, you know, what's the net profit by customer, and, you know, what's the net margin and that kind of thing as well. There's lots of stuff on these jobs reports, so I won't go into full detail and everything on there. We've then got other reports. There's one that's quotes, that's very similar to the leads report, so I'm not going to delve into that one on this one, but essentially it's very similar to the leads report, and again it's showing like things like conversions between, you know, quote to job, and you know what, you know, won quotes first, lost quotes, and that kind of thing. We've also got the maintenance report, which is sort of the last of the suite of the reports that we've got here, and this is looking at your sort of like maintenance jobs that you've got scheduled in. So these are things where you're doing annual maintenance or monthly maintenance and things like that. You'll see here as well that on this particular report, there's actually a map here showing where all these service jobs are due. So if I just wanted to go and say, right, okay, I want to see all the jobs in, you know, in April 2022, and I want to look at, okay, well, what have we got? What else is, and then we'll just shove that down to the end of April. Then everything on here is going to obviously update as well, and I can see where the locations of those jobs are. It can be quite useful if you're looking at planning jobs, thinking, right, well, okay, what technicians can I send? What engineers can I send? I've got a lot of jobs down here. Who's the best person for the job? So that can be quite useful in that. Again, you can see those by site, by asset type, and all those types of things. And you can also switch between country and address as well if you need to do that. You've got things like customer assets. So under customer assets, I can see all the assets by site. I can see how well these assets are tested at the minute. I can see here that most of these are passing at the minute. I've got fails, and if I want to see where those fails are, again, like I said before, just click on that, and I can see, right, okay, we've got fails at these particular customers. I can see it's on these sites. There's 2 fails on that site there, and I can even see what the asset types are. So I've obviously got 2 issues with fire extinguishers. There's a water chiller and a lift issue there as well. So you've got all that information on there. And then if we go back onto here, and then I can just basically see, right, okay, what are the test results by technician. So if you want to have a look at, the trends that are happening with technicians that are going out to do the work, you can see how they're doing. You might find certain people always fail the tests, or they always pass the tests, or something doesn't look quite right. And again, you can see the sort of number of tests that are carried out as well. So if I click on there, I can as well, because you can glyph on the line graphs, not just the bars as well. I can show, right, these are what happened on that particular day. These are the technicians that did these. Now, one thing I want to show as well, just to drop that back out. If on some of these line charts at the minute, you can see that's set up by month. Now, on here, if I click on this icon here, that'll allow me to drill down further. So now I can actually go, okay, we've got all this much going on in June, Jan, July, etc. I can just quickly go back up as well. If I want to focus on that particular one as well and drill down, actually not going to drill down properly, I think I have to do it the other way. Just go back, I click that into focus mode and then drill down. I'm still doing the same thing. Shows that. So that's more or less what the reports themselves do. But in terms of what you can actually do with Power BI to go alongside all the reports that we've built, there are a lot of other features. Things like being able to export to PowerPoint and to PDF. If I want to export this report to PDF, literally just click on PDF. I can either export the current values, or I can use the report default values. In terms of the report default values, if you ever want to reset the filters that you've got set up, so like if I've filtered this by a particular company on here, then that would apply across all the pages in the report. So if I wanted to just reset that back to the default, I can do that there at any point in time. But yeah, if I want to export to PDF, I can decide, right, do I want to exclude the hidden report tabs? Do I only want to do the current page? I'll just export that, and I'll leave that running in the background a minute. You can just exit off, and eventually it'll come to the browser. You can share this report with people within your organization. If you just want to share that, you can put the email address in there. You can copy the link, send them, send it straight, open up mail the client, or send via Teams. You can even chat about these reports in Teams. So if you're using Teams channels, or you've got group chats or anything like that, it's pretty straightforward. Just type in there. It'll also bring up the recent chats that we've got going on there, and you can see that there. So I can share that directly with the team if I need to do that. While we're in these reports, if you want to look at how your staff are using the reports, there is this usage metrics report here that you can click into, and you can do this in any of the reports that you've got. You'll see that the actual PDF is downloaded in the background there as well. Now in here, it's showing me all the views per day. I can see who the views are by user. I can have a look at, right, is it people on the web? Is it people on the mobile? You've got things like, do I want to just look at the customer assets report? And I can tick that, say, right, okay, Gabor's the one looking at that one quite a lot. So you can do that on any report. So if you're worried people aren't looking at your reports, and they should be doing, you can obviously chase them up on that. Now, one of the there's an interesting feature I would like to show you on here, which I think actually I was going to say it's actually on the invoices report actually. Other stuff you can do with these graphs, if I want to exclude that particular client from the report for whatever reason, I can just right click on that and exclude that. on there, and that will exclude it from all the other charts as well, so everything will change. Now, one of the great features of Power BI is that you can also create your own dashboards. Now, these dashboards you can then share with other users of your team as well. And the idea behind a dashboard is that any graphs that I'm really interested in, I can put on. So if I'm really interested in, right, okay, the number of invoices issued by type, I just click this little pin icon here, pin that visual. I'm going to create a new dashboard, simPRO dashboard, create that there. It will pop up and tell me to go to the dashboard, but I'm going to ignore that for now because I'm going to go and pick some other graphs. So I'll go into another report, and I'll go into the quotes report because we've not pinned that one before. And from here, I'm just going to pick a couple of charts and also pin those to my dashboard as well. So I'm going to pin this graph here, pin that to the existing dashboard, and I decide, right, okay, I want that graph as well there. Pin that to the dashboard. Now, you can click go to dashboard there, but I'll just show you where it is so you don't get too lost in the future. And I can see that when I go back to my workspace, it's there. All I need to do is click into there, and now I've got my new dashboard with the 3 graphs. I can decide which order I want them to put in. So if I want that up there, I want that there. All I'll have to do is drag those around. Also, if I want to make a mobile view, because Power BI can be used on a mobile app as well. So if you download the Power BI app and install that and hook that up to your reports, just log in with Office 365 details, you can also then view the reports on mobile as well. But the best way to view the reports is probably through the dashboards. So if I click on the edit link here, I can now edit the mobile layout. It's already laid them out by default. But if I decide, right, I want that graph to be there, or if I want, I decide, you know, quite happy that being a bit smaller, I can do that. I can shrink this one down, and I'll shrink it down a little bit more. Then in theory, they should sit side by side, and then that will work on my mobile then as well in that way. Now, another thing that you can do, which I haven't done, is I'm just going to tag one. I'm just going to add something else to the dashboard because I want to show you how you can set up alerts as well. Let's pin this to a new dashboard. Then we definitely are. Dashboard. Right, so if I want to set up alert for this one, if I want to see, right, okay, I just click on the little dots in this top there, select Manage Alert, click on Add Alert Rule, and then if I want to say, okay, so if that active contract goes above or below, so I can say if it goes below 2, then it can send me a notification every 24 hours, every hour. The notifications will pop up here. You'll get a little bubble that pops up here. If I want an email, I can have that, or I can turn that off, and it basically just hits save and close, and then that set alerts up. So if you want to track things like, you know, when I get to a certain number of leads, or a certain number of active leads drop so low, or the profit margins drop, anything like that that you want to track, you know, you can use one of those card values, pin it to here, and you set up your alerts as you want to do. And the last thing that I want to show you before I hand over to Gabor is just the sort of ask a question thing. So it's sort of Microsoft's AI driven analytics, if you like. It already gives you some examples that it suggests, and if you click on there, it'll show you more suggestions. So if I go, okay, click on that one there, and then what will happen is that'll then produce other graphs as well. So it's another way of producing graphs and finding information out about your data without actually having to necessarily create those graphs, if you like. If I want to just type a question there, so if I go for average contract value, and it starts giving me suggestions. So if I go for average contract value, pop that in, and it'll tell me what the average contract value is. So yeah, so that's about it. There's loads more you can do with Power BI. There's loads more you can do with the reports, but to try and keep to the time that we've got today, I'm now going to hand over to Gabor.
All right, thank you, Craig. Hi everyone, I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to show you just a few things you can do in Power BI Desktop using one of our reports. I'm going to use the invoices report to demonstrate just a couple of time intelligence functions I would like to show you. So first of all, for these time intelligence functions, we need to use some kind of dates. Now, it's recommended to create the calendar or date table in Power BI, which we've done. If you have a look on the side here, we've got 3 views here. One is the report view, the second one is the data view, where you can see your data, the different tables, and the data model view, where you can actually create relationships between these tables. Now, this is quite complex, as you can see, but we've got our calendar table up here, and what I'm going to use is this invoice table down here, and what we need is just an active relationship between these two. If I hover over these lines, it shows me the actual relationship on what field is created on. As you can see, the relationship is created on the calendar table's date column and the invoices table date issued column. So we got to go. When you go to the report and you're interested in, you want to know, for example, how is this calculated, or how is this visual, what's the value showing, how is it calculated, and you just select one of the graphs, and on the visualization pane you can see on the axis, you can see what fields used, and on the values what fields used as well. Now, when you got one of these graphs selected, on the fields pane you can see it's highlighted the actual fields or measures that are used in that particular visual. As you can see, I've got a date issued and a date on the axis, which is coming from the calendar table, and there's an invoice amount which is coming from the measures table. Now, we created in all our report, we created just a table only for the measures. That this is recommended by Microsoft as well. So every single measure what we created for these reports are kept in this table. As you can see, it's highlighted under this invoice. So the measure itself is used in this graph is the invoice amount. If I click on it, I can see in details what's going on with this one. As you can see, it's not really a calculation. This is kind of a switch between 2 other measures. It depends on what filter is selected from here. If we want to see the values include tax or exclude tax, we will pick the right measure depending on the selected value. Now, the measure's name is invoice amount exclude tax. I can look for this one in the measures table, or I can just use the search field here if I can't actually find it, because there's so many of them, but I know where they are. This is the exclude tax. This is just a simple sum formula which used in the invoices table and using that total exclude tax value. What I would like to show you is time intelligence function, because this one comes up every now and then. I'm going to create a new measure. So right click on the all measure table, click new measure, and what I would like to show you is a year-to-date value, a year-to-date invoice amount on this graph down here. Just wait a little bit until it loads. Okay, that's the new measure. I can give it a name, just call it invoice amount year to date equals, and there's a very simple inbuilt function, total year to date. I just need a sum of the invoice amount. I can use that measure what we've seen previously. I can just add invoice amount, and he wants me a date column as well, so I can just use my calendars table date column after a comma or a comma, calendar table date column and close parentheses. That's it, and your year to date invoice amount measure is ready. If I add this to the visual down here, let's just wait until it actually loads. So the measure is created. I can just drag and drop it on the values. Yeah, was it doing it? No. Yeah, it's there. And as you can see, the year-to-date values are showing on the graph. Now, you might notice the year-to-date values starts from January and ends in December. That's a default setting. If you would like to change that, you need to add a third argument to this method or function, which is just the last day of the or the end date of the year of the date. So I'm going to pick the 31st of March, close, enter, and you will see as soon as it loads, it will change the year-to-date values to start from April and end with end of March. Yeah, so that's one of them. The other one I would like to show you is the values, the same period last year values. Now for this, I'm going to create a new measure again. Right click on the measures table, a new measure. I'm going to call this number of invoices because I want to use this visual with the number of invoices. So number of invoices same period last year equals, and I need to use a calculate method here. Again, I need to use a count of the invoices, which I already have a measure for, number of invoices issued. I'm going to use that one, number of invoices issued, comma, and then I'm going to use the inbuilt time intelligence function, which is same period last year. I need to add the date column to it again and close, and that's it. That's done again. Let's wait until it loads. I'm going to change this visual a little bit because that's not the right way I want to show it. I want to pick line and clustered column chart. So I'm going to change this. As you can see, the number of invoices issued is showing as a column chart now. And if I add this second value to the graph, number of invoices same period last year as a line value, I'm going to see the current values, and on the line chart I see the same period last year values. So it's that easy. Also, it comes up every now and then, people would like to see some values not only by month, year, but they would like to see by the quarters. So we've got some already created columns in this calendar table, like a quarter column, I can just add it to this graph, and now I see the values in quarters. And because I added multiple values or multiple fields to this axis, I can use the drill down function here, so I can just turn it on, and if I'm interested in the first quarter only, I can just click on the first quarter and it will drill down to those months in the first quarter. As you can see, because not only 1 year but more years selected, it will pick the values for you know, for different years, but only those 3 months. Yeah, that's that. And then there's one more thing I would like to show you. Every now and then people would like to, or the customers would like to, the users would like to share their reports with their customers, but they only want to show the relevant data for their customers. So if you would like to do this, what you can do, you could open this filter pane. And as you can see on this filter pane, you can add some filters to either to this one page or to all pages in this report. What I want to do, I would like to filter this to one customer. So I just go and look for the customers table. I open it up. I can pick the ID, but that's a bit hard to find, you know, which customer has which ID. So I just pick the customer's name. I grab this field and drop it on the filters on all pages tab, this space. I can use the search bar. I would like to filter this report to one of my customers. So I just look for this customer, I select, and now every single tab is filtered to this customer. What you can do also, if you don't want your customer to be able to change this filter, you can lock this filter. This way, if you share your report, well, you have to publish your report to Power BI service first, and then when you share your report from Power BI service with your customer, you make sure you only give them rights to view the reports, not to edit the reports, and that way they won't be able to change this, so they won't be able to see any other customers' data or any other customers' values. And I think that's everything I wanted to show you. Yeah, that's everything. So I'm handing back to don't know, Brother Craig.
Thanks, Cabot. We've had one question come up just while you've been talking, or while one of us was talking, around companies. And if you've got a multi-company build, can the reports consolidate those? And the answer is yes. Mine now, can everyone see my screen now?
Yes.
So on the report at the top here, if we bring about these filters, then actually by default, the company, which refers to the company build rather than a customer, is in this drop down here. So by default, it shows all companies. So if you've got a multi-company build, all of your data from all your companies, so all your simPRO company, will sit within the report. But then if you want to filter that and say, right, okay, I want to look at, you know, test company here, I can just click on that, and then basically then the report is then going to be filtered by just that test company there. And then click on that, it's going to take, it's just why it's reloading the graphs now. And what will happen is that will retain that as well as our rule field reports. So if I move to job completion, I can now just see everything tied to that particular customer, that particular company as well. So everything now only relates to that test company that was set up in there. If anyone's got any more questions, if they want to just let us know now. Otherwise, we will call that a day.
I'm presuming people can contact us or email us if they have any questions as well.
Yes, I mean, if anyone's got any questions or anything like that, or they want to come back to us later on, then that's fine. I mean, I'll just drop an email address into the chat, but we will sort of catch up with everyone later on anyway as to what, once we've done that, we will like I say, we'll catch up with everyone via email and just check everyone's got everything answered they want to know, and hopefully it's been useful. Right, so that's in the chat if anyone wants to take that email address down. But yes, thanks for your time, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.